Hi there, this is a quick update, audio only, to the House of the Dragon Season 2 leak video that I made yesterday on Rhaena Targaryen going to the Vale to be the ward of Jane Arryn. That we saw a leak that they're really putting a lot of effort into that. One thing which I omitted, but it was from the same leak, but which major news site Redanian Intelligence has now publicly shared, so I'll share it too, is there will be a slight change from the books in that Rhaena will be going to the Eyrie with her younger half-brother, Aegon III. That didn't happen in the books. He was still on Dragonstone. And we're pretty sure it's not like when Benioff and Weiss did stuff on a whim. There's reasons for this. It's a small child actor. Due to playing with the timeline that there's a 6-year jump between Rhaenyra's marriage to Daemon and the Civil War breaking out in the TV show. In the book, it was 10 years. So this kid is like 10 or 11 when he's doing stuff in the book, but in this, he's like 5. And there's limits on what you can do with a child actor like that. That Aegon's ship gets boarded by enemy sailors, but he escapes by hanging on to his dragon's neck for dear life. But his dragon's a hatchling, it's barely big enough to carry him, he can't even ride it. And it's this really involved scene, and the suspicion we have is this would have been too complicated to do with like a 5 to 6 year old child actor, so they cut it out. I'm mildly disappointed, but it's not on a whim. There are legal things we can't do with child actors, or limits to the stunt work we can do with them. And I understand that. And I split this off because I didn't want people to, like, blame Rhaena or something. No, Rhaena's doing her storyline from the book. It was just off-screen in the book, but they want to actually show what was happening. And the book is an outline. This is unrelated to Rhaena, is, hey, let's send Aegon III there, and it flows organically of, hey, can you send some of your children to the Eyrie as a show of good faith that you worry about whether we get attacked? So they sent, in the book, they send Joff and Rhaena. In this, they're apparently also sending young Aegon. Not Viserys, he wasn't even mentioned in it, but the scene description is that Aegon III is with her. And I was worried for a bit that Joff actually wasn't mentioned in it, but then House of the Dragon Croatia pointed out to me that, you know, Joff is probably flying overhead on his dragon, shadowing the land party coming up with Rhaena, so the actor wouldn't be on set. Or he flew ahead on his dragons. This doesn't prove one way or the other whether Joff has been removed from the storyline. I don't think he has. He would be on his dragon, logically. So Aegon III will be going to the Eyrie, but this is such a minor change, and on top of that, they come back from the Eyrie eventually. That Joff goes... Rhaena stays there, but Joff goes to the Eyrie, and at a later point, Rhaenyra recalls him back to her court, to her presence. And he's with her and Daemon for a while. Why not just, instead of just Joff, it's Joff and Aegon? This, in terms of plot holes and things, he'll probably come back with Joff at the point in the story when Joff came back to court, and that changes nothing in terms of plot mechanics. And I've seen 1 or 2 people saying, oh, Rex, that when Aegon III grows up, he really hates dragons, because, okay, Joffrey Baratheon already spoiled this for us in Game of Thrones, because back in Season 3 they had him say, Rhaenyra eventually dies, she's captured, and Aegon feeds her to his dragon, Aegon II feeds her to his dragon, while forcing Aegon III to watch. That this was already stated in Game of Thrones, and it's everyone's favorite spoiler. How people don't die doesn't matter so much as why, and the lead up to the story. Like, if you're watching a historical thing on Queen Elizabeth or Henry VIII or something, you know how these people die. It's the story of their lives that matters, not just clickbait spoilers. Well, the point is, some people, 1 or 2 people have been saying, oh no, if you take out the scene where he's hanging on for dear life to his dragon's neck, it'll take out that he's traumatized from dragons. He's traumatized by dragons because he was forced to watch as one ate his mother. The riding the dragon's neck thing pales in comparison. If anything, the dragon saved his life. At great risk, he was mortally wounded. So, if you cut out Stormcloud's death ride to save Aegon, that he's riddled with arrows, he's not big enough to carry his weight, somehow he manages to carry him to safety, back to Dragonstone. I think they're going to cut that for practical reasons, that you can't really do that with a child actor, and I regretfully understand that. That it wasn't on a whim. Maybe they'll explain it. And how would Stormcloud die then? Will they introduce him at all? We don't know, because they didn't mention there's 3 hatchling dragons. I don't think they've hatched yet in the TV show, but then the Chekhov's gun thing that Daemon mentioned, I have eggs in an incubator. So I'm pretty sure they don't have the eggs yet, but they would like to show them hatching on screen in Season 2. Maybe even the dragons of Aegon and Helena's twins. I don't know. Probably not. Just for time and the number of names you need to know and their overall impact on the story, but maybe Stormcloud, I'm pretty sure because Daemon said I'm collecting eggs, I think you could easily just move his death to the storming of the dragon pit. That if the twins don't get, if Jaehaerys and Jaehaera don't get dragons, Stormcloud could take their place. And you're moving it around a bit, but it's still essentially the same thing. It's this really complicated stunt scene that we couldn't easily do with a child actor. They're moving around. In terms of plot mechanics, Joff goes to the Vale, then comes back to Rhaenyra's court. Have Aegon III go with him. It's not that so much goes with Rhaena as goes with Joff, because then Joff comes back with Aegon III. I don't have a problem with that. So, that is, and I like that Redanian titled their thing Slight Change. It's a child actor, he's not doing that much with this. I'm okay with that, and it's not really part of expanding Rhaena's Vale storyline. She stays in the Vale even when Joff and Aegon leave. Not really the same thing, it's just we had to cut out this really complicated action scene that we couldn't do with a kid. And like I said, I'm on the same private Discord as all of them, that all of the stuff I've been posting the last few days was really one big leak that we got a month ago when we got the Jane Arryn casting leak. It said Jane Arryn, played by Amanda Collin, meeting Rhaena, who has Aegon III with her. That's all one big leak, and it's not my word, Redanian just repeated this, with Aegon III and everything else. And the Rhaena stuff, I told you, we had heard that, we just wanted to confirm more people have been cast for it, and it shows they're not, like, sidelining her as a character, but actually building her up. And, like, it's weird when you see people complaining that, oh, they're inventing scenes for Rhaena, or they're expanding her, things that happened off-screen. People were, like, cheering when we found out that Jace will have the Wall and the Night's Watch in his storyline of meeting Cregan Stark. What is different between Jace and his stepsister Rhaena? That one being expanded is hooray, and like I'm on record for months saying I really hope they expand Jane Arryn. She's an interesting character. Jane and Rhaena, that they have shared scenes together. I wish they expand that storyline. And it looks like they will. Just showing what happened, which is mentioned in an outline. Build that up. It's not an invention to me. And it's also part of the same leak as the Oscar Tully stuff I posted, because, like I said, they both happen in Episode 7. That the materials we saw, a thing about Episode 7 that another thing mentioned. Meanwhile, Rhaena's father, Daemon, is in Harrenhal meeting with Oscar Tully. That's really, and because they were both things that happened in Episode 7, this is the don't ask questions because I don't know anymore. Anything I could share, I have. And I was waiting on Redanian for it, and thankfully, we were playing a delicate dance. These are child actors, we didn't want to really make up stuff about them, but Redanian itself felt comfortable revealing the Aegon III thing. I've seen what they saw. If you believe Jane Arryn is Amanda Collin, believe this. It was part of the same leak. And if you believe Amanda Collin is Jane Arryn, believe Oscar Tully is in there. It's like, you haven't seen me making fake leaks. There's this thing called reputation. If I was going to make a fake leak, I'd be doing it more. And that I'm not prone to doing that. that this is something I saw there. So I don't consider this a thing, and I don't think this has any impact on whether the Battle of the Gullet will happen or not this season. I still don't know. That the big naval battle that he gets intercepted by the enemy fleet, but he warns everyone that they're coming. They could work in some other way of doing that with one of the other characters, like Jace spotting them on the horizon while doing a patrol. Something as simple as that. It's just they didn't want to do a big stunt scene with a 6-year-old for all sorts of complicated reasons. That being said, I keep suspecting we have seen ship sets. We're increasingly, like we used to be 50-50, that the Battle of the Gullet will either happen in Episode 8 or end on the cliffhanger that you see the enemy fleet coming over the horizon. I'm now 60-40 that we will see the enemy fleet coming on the horizon just as the credits roll on the season finale, because all this other stuff we saw from Episode 7 is that they're slowing the pace down. That an update I didn't get to make yet on the Dragon Seeds is we were mistaken that Lonnie Perister for Episode 7 is directing the Dragon Seed, the sowing of the seeds, where we saw them all lined up. Someone recognized the back of his head eventually in the spy photos. So there's still this big CGI scene of picking the new Dragon Riders in Episode 7. Also in Episode 7, they're just introducing the Tullys. And they're starting to introduce a separate storyline with Rhaena with Jane Arryn. And this is good news. I don't want to rush to see the Battle of the Gullet any more than I want to rush to see the second Battle of Tumbleton by the end of the second season. Remember when we were complaining, you can't do this in only 3 seasons, it needs 5 seasons. And then you're annoyed that they're not getting to stuff faster, that we wanted a slower pace that doesn't burn through material. So me as a hardcore book fan, you think I'm complaining, there was a very clear reason why you wouldn't do that, a complicated stunt like that with a child. And I don't see how this fundamentally alters the structure of the story. If you just shift some things around, have another character do that. It doesn't alter Aegon's character, because seeing his mother fed to a dragon later is what will really traumatize him. And he'll just come back to Rhaenyra with Joff at the point in the story when Joff comes back. I don't have a problem with this. But it's all one big leak, and there's nothing else from this specific leak. It's all run its course. Now I can and we're also in the final week of filming interior stuff, but I'm a month behind. I can finally now catch up on all the stuff we saw from the Battle of Rook's Rest, which is a lot more straightforward.